The city of Chicago buzzed with life, people rushing, sirens howling in the distance, horns blaring on the crowded streets. Yet amidst all that noise, there was a silence in the heart of Emily Carter's life. It wasn't just the silence of an empty apartment or a quiet phone screen. It was the silence of rejection, of invisibility, of being stuck in a world that didn't notice her struggle. Emily was only 19, but the weight on her shoulders felt far heavier. After losing both of her parents in a tragic car accident 2 years ago, she had become the legal guardian of her younger brother, Noah, who was just 11. They had no close relatives, no inheritance, and no one to turn to. The only thing they had left was each other and the tiny basement apartment they somehow managed to keep. That morning, Emily sat on the edge of their small mattress, her cracked phone glowing dimly in her hand as she refreshed her email inbox. Dozens of applications had gone out over the last few weeks to coffee shops, bookstores, retail chains, fast food restaurants, gas stations, anywhere and everywhere that had an Apply Now button. But each day ended the same. No response or a short, automated rejection. One rejection from a small diner particularly stung. She had walked there herself, dressed in her only decent outfit, and spoken with the manager in person. He had smiled politely and said, "We'll call you," but he never did. Noah stirred under the covers on the other side of the room. Did they reply?" he asked sleepily. Emily forced a smile and tucked her phone under the blanket. "Not yet, buddy, but something good's coming. I can feel it." In truth, she didn't feel anything except tired. Every morning, Emily attended community college, trying to finish her associate's degree in business. Her professors often complimented her dedication. She never missed a class, never skipped an assignment, and always participated. What they didn't know was that she studied late into the night while eating ramen noodles and worrying about how to afford next month's rent. When school ended each day, Emily would walk to the nearest public library and apply for more jobs. Some required experience she didn't have. Others offered wages too low to survive on. A few interviews came through, but none turned into anything. Her small savings, what little her parents had left in a joint account, were nearly gone. They had already sold her father's old car and pawned the few valuables they had. The apartment's rent was overdue, the fridge was nearly empty, and her backpack was falling apart. Still, she refused to give up. That night, Emily stared at the ceiling long after Noah had fallen asleep. Her body ached, her stomach growled, and her heart felt heavy. "I just need a chance," she whispered to the dark. The next day after class, she took a different route home. She passed by a small street-side food stall a few blocks from their apartment. It wasn't fancy, just a wooden cart with a faded red umbrella, a few plastic chairs, and a short menu that offered hot dogs, fries, sandwiches, and coffee. The smell of greasy food wafted through the cold air, making her stomach twist. An older man stood behind the counter, focused on flipping patties. He wore a grease-stained apron, a weathered baseball cap, and glasses that slid down his nose. There was something about the way he worked, methodical, precise, that made Emily pause. She hesitated, then stepped forward. "Excuse me, sir." The man looked up. "We're open. Menu's right there." "I'm not here to eat," she said quickly. "I was wondering, are you hiring?" He raised an eyebrow. "You ever waited tables before?" "No, sir, but I'm a fast learner. I can clean, take orders, handle customers. I really need a job." He studied her face. He saw the fatigue in her eyes, the quiet desperation. And maybe, just maybe, he saw something of his younger self in her too. He turned back to the grill. "Name's Benson. Be here tomorrow at 6. Wear black. Don't be late." Emily blinked. "Wait, really? You want it or not?" "Yes. Yes, thank you." "Then show up. Let your work speak for you." The following evening, Emily stood behind the stall, wearing an oversized black shirt, a borrowed apron, and sneakers with worn-out soles. She had tied her hair back, scrubbed her hands clean, and done her best to look presentable. Mr. Benson didn't say much, just handed her a notepad and showed her how to take orders. The first few hours were overwhelming. Customers were impatient, and the stall was surprisingly busy. She fumbled a few times, forgot a drink order, and even spilled ketchup on her shoe. But she kept moving. By 10 p.m., her feet were sore and her throat dry. But Mr. Benson gave her a nod. Not bad. You learn quick. Those words felt like a gold medal. By 2 a.m., they were packing up. Emily's entire body hurt, but she couldn't stop smiling. It wasn't glamorous, it wasn't what she had dreamed of, but it was something. A start. That night, she tiptoed into the apartment and found Noah fast asleep. She quietly placed a small bag of fries next to his pillow. He stirred, smiled, and mumbled, "Thanks, Em." Weeks passed. Emily developed a rhythm. Mornings were for college, evenings for homework, nights for work. She barely slept. On the train to school, she'd nod off against the window. During lectures, she sometimes struggled to keep her eyes open, but her grades never slipped. She missed out on parties, study groups, social media, and free time, but she didn't care. Her focus was survival, getting through one more day. Every Friday, Mr. Benson handed her a small envelope of cash. It wasn't much, but it was enough to buy groceries, pay part of the rent, and keep the lights on. Sometimes, when she wiped tables late at night, she'd see her reflection in the stall's glass window, eyes hollow, cheeks sunken, clothes wrinkled, and wonder how long she could keep this up. But then she'd look at her books or at a picture of Noah and their parents on her phone and remind herself why she was doing this. For him, for them, for herself. One night, as she was cleaning the counter, Mr. Benson spoke without looking at her. "You ever think about quitting?" Emily blinked. Quitting? Yeah. All this. The school, the job, the stress. She paused, then shook her head. "I've come too far. I can't afford to stop now." He finally looked up. "Good. Most people give up when things get hard. But not you." His words sank deep into her bones. Despite the endless cycle, there were small joys. Like the way Noah would hug her every morning and say, "You're my superhero." Or how Mr. Benson sometimes let her take home leftover sandwiches. Or when one of her professors praised her essay and said she had leadership potential. These little sparks kept her going. But there were also hard nights when customers yelled at her, or when her shoes were soaked from the snow, or when she came home to find the electricity temporarily cut off because she forgot to pay the bill. On those nights, she cried in the shower, muffling her sobs so Noah wouldn't hear. But the next day, she got back up. It had been 3 months since she started at the food stall. She was still broke, still tired, but something inside her had changed. She was stronger, sharper, more determined. Then came the night that would change everything. It was colder than usual, and business was slow. She stood by the stall, hands tucked into her sleeves, eyes half closed from exhaustion. That's when a sleek, black SUV pulled up beside the curb. Out stepped a tall man in a tailored coat, followed by a woman in heels and pearls, and a girl, around 16, in a designer jacket. Emily straightened instinctively. Rich families didn't usually stop by here. "Evening," she said politely. "Welcome. What can I get for you?" The man glanced at the sign. "You work here?" "Yes, sir." "And you're a student too?" the woman asked, eyeing the textbooks beside the register. "Yes, ma'am. I go to college during the day." The girl looked surprised. "When do you sleep?" Emily smiled softly. "Whenever I can." They ordered food and sat down, occasionally glancing at her as they ate. She served them hot coffee, brought extra napkins, and offered her usual warmth despite the freezing weather. When they finished and began to leave, the woman approached Emily. She reached into her purse and pulled out a glossy business card. "My name is Rebecca Lawrence. My husband and I run a private investment firm. We were once in your shoes. We believe in people like you. Call us tomorrow." Emily stared at the card, speechless. "Promise me you'll call," Rebecca said gently. I will. Thank you." As they got into the SUV and drove away, Emily stood frozen. Her heart beat like a drum. Could this be it? The chance she had been waiting for? Emily held the glossy card between her fingers like it was made of gold. It had only 2 lines. Rebecca Lawrence. Lawrence Capital Group. Investing in People. She read it at least a dozen times before placing it inside her old notebook, afraid it would vanish if left in her pocket. The next morning, Emily called the number on the card. Lawrence Capital Group, answered a receptionist. Hi, I'm Emily Carter. I was given this number last night. Mrs. Lawrence asked me to call. There was a pause. One moment, please. Rebecca's calm voice came on. Emily, I was hoping you'd call. I meant every word. You don't have to say anything right now. Just come meet us. We'd like to talk more. That weekend, Emily took 2 buses across town to reach a tall glass building in downtown Chicago. The receptionist welcomed her warmly. She was led to a sleek office on the top floor. Rebecca stood to greet her, dressed simply but powerfully. Beside her sat her husband, Daniel Lawrence. They asked Emily to share her story, and she did. Everything. They listened in silence. We have a program, Daniel said. Mentorship, grants, support. If you're serious, we can help you build something of your own. With all my heart, Emily said. In the months that followed, Emily created Rise Grinder, very own mobile coffee cart. With mentorship, training, and drive, she grew it into a full-fledged cafe. Then another. Then a nonprofit. She helped students, trained workers, supported families, paid it forward. Years later, when a new employee stayed late after her shift, Emily handed her an old notebook full of her journey. You remind me of me, she said, and smiled. Because the story had ended but the cycle of hope had just begun.